Hi, everybody, and welcome to Dune Desertfall. Sorry we were out last week, but most of us were at WonderCon doing fabulous things, and really happy for you to join us all today. I do have a really cool to announce that the new campaign book, Dune: Fall of the Imperium, is in stock and on sale now at Modiphius. And the cool thing is, if you buy the hardcover, you get the PDF immediately for free before the book ships out. So if you're dying to get into the amazing campaign of what happens before and after the Atreides fall, and what minor house you are in, how that would affect you, by all means, please pick up Fall of the Imperium for the Dune 2D20 system that just came out now. Also, if you would like, we are giving away a copy of the Dune plugin for Roll20. So if you check that out in chat, it will be !Roll20 will be the command, and you will be entered, and we'll randomly draw it at the end. And then you can go on Roll20 and check out all the cool things. Like Leto Atreides' character sheet is so rad. I love that thing. But we're all aching to get into it. I'm sure you all are. So let's just jump right in. The four Atreides agents landed on Arrakis. The heat was overwhelming. The sand was getting everywhere. And they were met at the spaceport by a single person introducing herself as Mara Nassil. She is the head housemaid of the Arakeen residence, where these Atreides agents are inspecting. Their cover story is that they are coming here to make sure that everything is good and regal enough for the Atreides family when they arrive. They're actually here to make sure that it's safe, that there are no Harkonnen agents that are spying, that the walls aren't listening or watching, that everything will be fine for their lord and lady, their son and the staff, to arrive and take over. Mara was very sharp, very dedicated to her job, and very wary of these outworkers. She wasn't expecting any of them to bring water to drink. However, Lyra Du, thinking ahead, did bring a small flask of water that she had on the guild shuttle that landed in the spaceport. Mara was impressed at this, but still insisted that they go and they purchase water as an honor to bring to the Arakeen residency. It's a sacred act. And Arrakis water is far more precious than any water from the outworlds. So entering into the Arakeen market, they had this interesting, well, one of them definitely had an interesting experience meeting with one of the water sellers, Manon Novier, being talked into this wealthy, brash giant of a man saying, "Come in, all of my wares are fine." And he picked this very large, ostentatious, like a porcelain vase, very gentle, deeply ornate, full of water, thinking this will be the great thing. The other three went to Binda, this quiet yet talkative, sweet old woman who just wanted to smile and chat with these new people and sell them water in these humble vessels. As she was filling them, however, Sister Demir Azul, trying to gauge a reaction, reached out to grab the water bladder that Binda was using to fill them. And suddenly, a crysknife was at her throat, held by Mara Nassil, made of the tooth of a sandworm, sharp, slightly translucent. Demira didn't budge. Mara intoned that to take water for someone on Arrakis is not a very good idea. But if one is freely given or one purchases it, then it is fine. You never touch someone else's water. always responsible for yours. Now knowing that Mara is incredibly fast and has that weapon secured on her right side, and given this new information, they begin walking toward the Arakeen residency when they were suddenly, well, we believe, ambushed, possibly set up by Mara, by a group of water bandits. The fight very quickly ended, however, with Novier panicking and rushing into the largest of these water bandits and smashing that porcelain vase between him. And suddenly the large water bandit fell, dead, shards of porcelain sticking out of his chest. And Lyra, using the voice, the training of the Bene Gesserit, commanded the leader to escort them to the residency. And they did. And upon going into the residency, they began meeting some of the staff and seeing what was around them. Lyra found a young lady, Shala, who's maybe mid-20s, very shy, very shaky, wasn't sure what was quite going on. So Lyra decided to take her under her wing, begin extolling the benefits of the Bene Gesserit sisterhood. Novier, after inspecting some of the stations and finding the male dormitories, found a rather handsome and brash young man named Chakir, who immediately started flirting, and Novier decided to turn up the heat a little bit on him. And Sir Arazu Reese and Demira, also a sister of the Bene Gesserit, were back in the guest bedrooms, plotting for the advancement of House Reese should something happen to the Atreides. And then night fell. The next morning, you were all awoken by subtle chimes echoing through the residency. Overnight, it was surprisingly cool in this giant stone ziggurat that you were sleeping in. The outside is sealed from the wind, the sun, and the sand. There's a small knock at each of your doors, and just a very quiet, "Breakfast will be served shortly," is whispered through the door. There's this sense of calm, quiet. But then you all realize that in 4 days, Duke Leto, Lady Jessica, and their heir Paul will be making landfall and living here. Novier, waking up in the male dormitories on the far side of the Arakeen residency, after hearing that chime and a little knock at the door, you hear some of the other doors opening and closing and people shuffling down the hall. What's going on in your mind? What are you looking for today?
Today, I think I want to make sure that I'm already meeting all of that I'm meeting all of the stewards that already exist on the on the premises. But I also want to see if we can check in because I know that uh how do you pronounce it was the head housekeeper.
The one you've been talking to that had the
No,
knife and all that?
the other one.
Oh, the main the main housekeeper, that is Shout Out
Yes.
Mapes.
Shout out. Okay, I know that shout out is they're hiring right now as well for where we're living, right? So
Yeah,
are they
they're
are
looking for more they're looking for more people to come in once the family is here
mhm.
so that the family can pick and choose whom they want to keep.
So I'd say main goal is to meet all the other stewards to suss them out, and then
Okay.
side goal is to see if there are any other stewards getting hired.
Got it. Okay. Lyra, As you wake up, you hear that chime echo through the residency, and you're off in your own private quarters, off of the family bedrooms in the main bedroom where Lady Jessica and Duke Leto would be. What are your plans for today? What are you
Um,
thinking?
I am thinking that I would like to reach out to Shala to help me get Lady Jessica Chambers ready and suitable for her arrival. And I do want to make some communication or contacts with um oh no, her name. Um, Not headmistress.
Uh, Reverend Mother Gaius?
Thank you.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Make contact with her, let her know that, we've landed and kind of the situation of what's going on out here.
Okay, as for that, there's no satellites around Arrakis. There's no Holtzman transmitters or anything like that. So it's the old way of passing a letter to a courier who takes a shuttle up to a guild highliner, and then the message is transmitted forth.
Okay.
So that'll be pretty easy to do later
Excellent.
on.
Excellent.
Lord Erzu and Demira, what are the two of you thinking when you what are your plans other than possibly overthrowing House Atreides?
We don't talk about that. It's not happening. I know what you mean. Um, I think Arzu's initial plan is going to be checking what would be the Atreides main place himself.
Okay.
He's gonna check it for any sort of devices, or he's gonna put himself out there and start there, and then kind of work his way towards the front, if that makes sense.
Okay. Are you going to be looking for any because Thufir Hawat specifically asked you if you could look for any paperwork, mining files, anything that may have been left behind by a random Harkonnen or possibly Count Fenring who was living here before.
Yeah, I think that I mean I think what his goal is to kind of pull his curtain back just a touch is I think he's going to do what he was asked first and leave the rest of that time. Like the idea is if it's done first, then he can spend the rest of the time doing the stuff that he's thinking about. So yeah, I think he's looking for any sort of like listening devices or any sort of potential traps first, and then kind of sweeping back through to if there's if he sees any mining files or anything that would potentially be of interest, he's of course going to grab it. So
Okay. Awesome. And Sister Demira.
I feel like Demira stayed up late creating somewhat of a handbook of sorts that basically would have a breakdown of defining the roles of the house, the responsibilities for each of the staff members, what they're like as far as the level of service they're expected to do, even so detailed as to have a schedule and as far as the duties that they're to perform, how often and when. It's going to be very specific and laid out, but basically kind of to basically set a standard for the household. So she's taking that very seriously. So it's going to be like basically just a breakdown for all of those different things. Also to probably like even notes, maybe as far as potential training notes for each of the different roles within the house. And basically after having kind of finished that out, and checking obviously and taking care of anything that Arzu would have her do for the beginning of the day, she would then go to look for Mara with
Okay.
this book in hand.
Oh, okay. Awesome. As the four of you get ready and begin following, when you exit your doors, just this amazing scent is filling what seems filling the entire residency. just this heat and spice, just the smell of peppers, cinnamon, roasted meats, just a very, very soft tinge of fruit. And you follow it to a main eating area. And standing there is a older woman, say probably about late 40s, little bit rough around the edges, but she's busy putting large plates out onto the main dining room table. And she looks up, just looks at you and goes, "Oh, all right. Well, welcome. Please, I'm Basima. I'm the chef here, and apparently the only one that likes to do dishes and cook at the same time. So please sit. Everyone will be here momentarily." And you can smell the spices, not just like the cinnamon of the spice melange, but some of these dishes smell hot, spicy hot. Being from Caladan and having rich food and fish oils and things like that, there is a spice to this that it smells like it has a kick. It's probably a little daunting at first. As you take your seats, you see that Mara saunters in, and following her is a large group of people. Lyra, you see Shala as she's kind of like looking down and shyly walking in. Novier, you see Chakir. He's standing up a little straight, being as brash as he usually is. You all see the really really young footman and the large one, Umar, the teenager, and Cora, the large one that you met outside when the gates opened. And then there's a handful of others. And as everybody sits down, Mara waits for everyone to sit. And then Mara looks at all of you. And then looks specifically at Lyra. This is the staff of the Arakeen residency. You have already met Basima, the cook. I believe you, ma'am, have met Shala. But these are the other ones. And she points to a rather sullen and kind of withdrawn woman, mid-20s. That is Razi. And then another one, very, older, probably about the same age as Mara and the chef, but just looks haughty, know-it-all, just kind of like everyone is just disrespecting her time. That is Aisha. Then there's another mid-30s, kind of, again, looks surly, looking at everybody else. They seem to have a little bit more grubbier garb. Their fingers are actually still slightly dirty on the backs. Looks like doing work up until breakfast was served. This is Nava. She passes over Shala as she's already motioned to her. There's an older woman, probably the oldest here. Looks approvingly at Mara. Mara kindly glances at her and just not really rolls her eyes, but there's this sigh of indignation. This is Talora. She has been here the longest of the others. There's also a younger, round-faced, also nervous, but slightly more nervous than Shala, it seems. That is Jamelia. She's also new. And this is Visal, and pointing to another probably mid-30s woman. Very quiet, very serious. As she's pointed out, she just kind of nods her head slightly. And motions to the 4 footmen. It's like, you have already met Umar and Cora. This is Arvio. He's somewhat useless. And you see this just lazy, leaning back in his chair, kind of poking at the linen on the table, probably mid-30s. And this is Shakir. And again, that is the very brash, handsome one. And then she looks at all of you. Introductions are had. I've spoken. She sits down and starts just ladling food, this hot, spicy soup, some small pieces of like a rolled bread, and everyone just begins to dig in. And it is very spicy. Very spicy. Like walking into a northern Thai restaurant and saying, I'll have the house spice level spicy. If you're not used to spicy, it's kind of brutal. But palatable. It is very tasty. So everyone is sitting there enjoying their breakfast. Lyra, you were kind of pointed out quite a bit by Mara, talking mainly to you, like talking to you and then the others. How are you reacting to that? She was very openly like speaking to you than everyone else.
Well, I consider it a high honor that I was pointed out, and I don't want to mean any disrespect. So I wait accordingly, let others grab food, and when possible, I do reach for one of the spiciest foods to show that I too can handle what heat that they're handling.
Okay.
Yeah, but so I'm keeping an eye on the very shy other maiden. What was her name again? Like the one that was like really nervous, like more nervous than Shala.
Jamelia.
Yes. So I kind of keep an eye on Jamelia. I'm just kind of curious why she's kind of fidgeting. Like I have a little bit of a weird feeling about it, but I'm not gonna read into it too much. I'm just gonna eat my food and kind of keep glancing at folks and seeing who's engaging in what conversations.
Jamelia is very quiet. She's eating, kind of just nodding along to the general conversation that's going on.
Okay. Is Mara anywhere nearby?
Mara is so the four of you are in seats of honor at one far end of the table. And then Mara is some ways kind of toward the front, but in what would be like as you're wrapping around the table, generally in the middle of the group. She is like very easy to talk to.
Mara.
And she like takes a bite and then chooses quickly. Yes.
Any recommendations on what to start with here? I'm very new to your array of food here, so.
Well, we have a very spicy morning beef here. Little bit of a, if it's too spicy, use a little bit of that cream that is whipped up on the end. And immediately Basama just goes, no, you do not put on the cream. It's like, just eat it straight. And there's suddenly laughter at the table because Basma is just very, very brash when it comes to her cooking. It's like, no, just eat it that way. Do not put any of this other stuff. And all of you, stop laughing. None of you ever do any work for me. And they, everybody begins to laugh, and Basmala is just being her own, just kind of grumbling under her mouth. Fine, I'm just going to cook it, and then I'm going to serve it to some people, and then I'm going to clean it, and none of you ever do your jobs. And just seems to take over the situation really quickly.
So I assume, as most spicy foods go, you can tell ones that have been packed on with spice. I'm going to try to grab the piece of beef that has the most spice on it.
Okay. It is remarkably spicy. And as you do, Basama kind of like glances at you out of the corner of her eye while she's still just like gesticulating and pointing fingers at people. And it is extremely spicy. And you do see some of the other people, some of the other housemaids and stewards, they're particularly avoiding the spicier pieces.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have the talent of Prana Bindu, so I have mastery over my body.
Yep.
So I assume that I can go ahead and consume this without any tears or any sort of showing that the spice affects me.
Absolutely. And as you bite into it, especially the very, very overspiced one, that could that piece alone could probably like floor an elephant. It is oppressively spicy, but using your techniques that you have in this from the sisterhood, you kind of just channel that pain into a more pleasant burning, a more invigorating feeling and flavor. And Basima looks at you very approvingly and just kind of nods and then reaches out toward that small dish of cream and pushes it over further onto the table.
Lyra, if you were to look up at any point, Arzu is looking directly at you this whole time.
I will make a note, but you see no change in Lyra's expression at all.
I think Demira leans towards Arzu. So, am I to assume you do not want that spicy of the meat on your plate? She's like preparing, because she's like scooping stuff for Arzu before herself.
Because the reason I would like to argue that is because I would imagine that Arzu through Demira would know of the method in which Lyra is ingesting this beef with Prada Bindu. So he's like, okay, I see what you did there. Kind of like
and that's why Demira was like, I'm assuming you don't want to try to do that because you don't have the same abilities. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Yeah. So that's why he laughs. Well, I'm not one to try and show up anybody at the table, so I will try the beef, but I will leave the spicier pieces to our dear friend Lyra here.
As you wish.
And he kind of just like puts a hand so that he can grab it as opposed to Demira, to show like he's not like he appreciates the assistance, but he's also trying to show people at the table that he's not like, please serve me and then put the meat in my mouth. Like, like
Demira will probably at that gesture pass the silverware and the plate over to Arzu.
It quickly gets a couple looks, like a couple people are confused, like, wait, these are 4 people from House Atreides, but one of them is acting slightly deferential to another. It's just like it's a very brief moment, and a couple people notice, mainly Mara. You do catch her just kind of cocking her head slightly.
Demira's also looking at the older woman who was identified as having been the one that has been in the household the longest.
Alora, yes.
Alora, yes. So she's paying attention, but in a very subtle way. So like during that whole interaction with Arzu, kind of stealing glances, paying attention to like kind of her demeanor and where she may be looking as well.
Alora keeps glancing to Mara, kind of in like seeking approval, and then quietly is just as soon as one of the younger staff members kind of starts to talk a little louder, she just shushes them. It's like, no, we can all hear you now. Please stop. And she a little bit like kind of seems very critical of a lot of the younger servants. And whenever Umar, the very, very young teenager of the stewards, speaks up, she is just, her eyes just turn cold. Just like anything coming out of his mouth, she disagrees with. She doesn't say it publicly. She just, like, anytime he speaks, just kind of glares. And you do notice that when she does that, Cora, the largest of the stewards, kind of like glances at her and back to Umar, and like they are sitting next to each other and kind of like shifts a little bit closer to Umar.
Arzu kind of shoots a glance over at Demira and then like looks back in their direction. As kind of just like a little bit of a bookmark, and then he, goes and cuts a portion of the beef off and just kind of politely chews at it.
Novier, you are surrounded by other stewards and housemaids. And honestly, you were kind of overlooked when Mara was pointing everybody out, as she was definitely speaking to Lyra first, and then to Arzu, and to Demira, and then just kind of like looks past you.
You had mentioned a little bit ago that Basira was already kind of up and like handling things and like bringing dishes back to the kitchen, right?
Yeah, like just moving back and forth. And then she's the last one to sit down and begin eating.
I eat very quickly without anybody noticing, and I start surreptitiously picking up empty plates, and I go back into the kitchen in order to start washing dishes, with the intent that I'm hoping that Basira sees me.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. This is fun. Whew. Okay. Let's see here. If you're doing it, are you doing it just for her sake, like trying to make her eye line, or just making it just noticeable enough that someone concerned about the kitchen would start seeing that plates are leaving?
The first one, probably. I would say that
Okay.
like I'm not trying to get her. I'm not trying to get her eye line like while I'm going back to the kitchen, but I'm hoping that she notices me once she comes back into the kitchen in order to grab more things or to drop off plates or things like that.
Okay. She is so busy, and you keep doing that, and it seems she has worked herself into a fervor, and all of you start to see it. She is just openly complaining that no one ever helps her. She's just pointing fingers, and Mara is just sitting back and letting her steam. And she starts just deeply growling and pointing a finger at Arvio, that middle-aged, very lazy, kind of just dirty looking steward. It's like, and you don't do anything. You don't do anything at all. All you do is look busy when either of us are walking around, especially if Shutout is here. And he's just not even giving her, not even looking in her direction, just chewing on a piece of bread, just not paying her any mind, completely ignoring what she is saying. But no, she doesn't even notice you at all. She's so just burned up in her rage at this point that, I mean, you're doing a great job of clearing the table. A couple of the other people are like, oh, okay. But she, no idea. She's not even paying attention to the place settings anymore.
Yeah, and what I want to do is when she finally comes back into the kitchen, that's where I want her to see me washing dishes.
Okay. Oh, absolutely.
So I'll plan that for a little bit later.
Okay, not bad. Yeah, because she will start just slamming dishes and going in there. Right on. The majority of you, there's banter back and forth. You start to see that there is kind of a hierarchy going on. We saw the housemaiden, the very quiet and serious one. She occasionally speaks up here and there, but she's very carefully watching everybody, just seeing. She's kind of looking at them and then looking at you four, or now you three, since Novier is off doing runs back and forth. But just kind of like glancing at the three of you and then glancing at everybody else, just like mainly seeing how people are reacting to each other. Jamelia, nervous laughter. Same with Shala. They're both kind of like, okay, okay, cool people are here. I don't know what I'm doing. And they're just kind of, they're eating and all of that. Lyra, you're the one paying the most attention to Jamelia, as are you, Demira. Can I have both of you give me let's see, a communicate, just a difficulty 1, something simple.
Just a straight communicate. Can we use any of our drive?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Use it. You please use a drive. But the drive again in the system is completely up to you. But it's definitely a communicate.
I think I'm going to use my power. I have a focus on that, or a statement on that one. Power is given to those who can keep their composure. So I'm kind of eyeing her to see how much composure she is keeping, which kind of seems like none.
Right on.
And I actually am going to also use power, but in a different way, because it's also a different focus of mine, where those with true power need seldom wield it. So she knows that Lyra in this situation has the most control over what's going on. So she's kind of laying in the cut, waiting for her moment for whatever she needs from this situation.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, we're only looking for a simple difficulty of 1. So let me see them. Both of you hit it. Yep, and no horrible things. Both of you see her glancing a lot at Nava, like really nervously, kind of looking around, not really making eye contact with Mara, but honestly, other than Talora, no one really is. Talora, the older servant that's been here the longest. But Jamelia keeps looking at Nava. And Nava is, again, kind of like late 30s, very, very dark skinned. Looks rather peeved. Also, whenever whenever Basima starts yelling about like cooking and cleaning, she's also, kind of nodding along and does look at Jamelia every once in a while. And Jamelia immediately turns her head away. She does. There's something unspoken between these two that maybe it's criticism and Jamelia feels bad or something, but Jamelia does not like looking at Nava at all.
Just to clarify, Jamelia is the one that's kind of like Shala, the
Yes.
kind of nervous, and then
more
the
nervous
other,
and quieter than Shala.
The other is that one of the footmen, or
no? Nava is one of the housemaids. She
one of
is
the other
the one.
housemates.
Yeah, she's also complaining that she does all the real work. She was the one that was obviously working straight up until breakfast.
Okay, and not it's Talora. That's the older one. The
Yes.
older housemate. Okay, copy
Yes.
that. Just clarifying.
Yeah, I'm throwing a lot of names at y'all, but it's part of the fun. You're kind of like, wait, who is that? What's their name? Because you're all meeting them at the at this time. So storytelling devices.
I think I probably use our unspoken language to look at my fellow sister and kind of give her the look of like, keep an eye on Nava.
The older one?
Yes, and I get up to approach Jamila.
Okay. As you get up, no one's really paying attention. They're all talking amongst themselves. Mara does see you sit up, and just there you see the faintest of smiles on her face. And then Jamelia sees you coming, and she immediately just kind of like, oh shit. Like one of the Outworlders, one of the Atreides people are walking up, and is just, she's clamming up at this point as you go up to her.
Jamila, is it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I see Shala has told me a little bit about you. How's your morning?
Immediately just eyes dart to Shala, just like a what did you do? And just like very deferentially looks back down. My morning is well. The food is very nice. There's a lot to do. Your family is coming in not many days.
I understand. Is that what keeps you nervous?
Yes, it's difficult. We've been alone so much, just us. And now there will be more, and there will be nobles, and there will be people, and it's going to be it's a great time of change.
Is there anything I can do to alleviate your stress?
Please tell us if we're doing well. Please.
I think you are all doing a fine job.
Talora, as you say that, Talora, the oldest one and the longest servant here, is like, that is right. Most of you are doing a fine job. And then just shoots her eyes again at Arvio, the lazy steward. And Mara just looks at her and just goes, shh. You do not say that. I say that.
Do go
Jimmy,
on, though. Most? What do you mean by most?
Talora looks at you. It's like him. It's just like Arvio. All he does is look busy. You know how many times I have caught him playing cards? And
How many
Mara is just
times?
rolling her eyes and just like going into her meal, not wanting to deal with this. It's like it's early in the morning. No one has started real work yet. Mara's just not having it, quietly going to her meal. And Talora just starts just smack talking all of them, especially, and then like points at Shala and Jamelia. Both of you just laughing and tittering and shy and quiet. What are you going to do when nobles come in? When these great Atreides come? Do you think they want to see you joking and shyly walking 4 steps behind them? You have to be proud. You are their servants. You have to be, again, Mara just goes, shh, you need to stop. You are not in command here.
If I may.
The whole table goes quiet when you say that.
Mara, when you get a chance, if you don't mind having a conversation regarding said issues, I may have a solution.
Yes, ma'am. Very curt, very straight, just acknowledged.
She just nods and she goes back to eating as if she didn't, like nothing happened. It's very just quiet probably afterwards.
Shala and Jamila, I would like to invite you to help me in Lady Jessica's chambers to get them set up.
They both look at each other and there's like a small glance of rivalry. And then both of them answer, just like one after the other. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Shall we? I don't let them finish their food.
Oh, they like the plates, just like the utensils just hit the plates in the ground. They're just like, they're immediately standing, wiping off their mouth, lowering their sleeves, and they immediately begin to follow you.
And I look at Mara as a, like, I'm not going to ask, but this is my way of asking, is this okay?
Mara just nods almost imperceptibly.
And we start to take our leave towards Lady Jessica's chambers, unless anything else happens.
Arzu. Weasel, the quiet one, the serious one that's looking and seeing everybody's reactions. She's glancing at you more than the others, sizing you up, seeing that Demira was slightly deferential to you, definitely looking between the two of you, trying to figure out what's going on. She's not trying to hide it.
Arzu, I think, possibly would notice it, like out of the corner of his eye, but uh, he is kind of playing up that he's enjoying the food, but it might like he's kind of like, oh, this is you really did put a lot of spice in this. This is quite oh wow. Very good though. Very good, but spicy. Damn. Uh and then like to not completely ignore it, he will stop and kind of like look in her direction and smirk.
She
And
looks
he just
right at you and nods.
um what's your name, youngin?
She kind of like sits up a little bit taller and kind of glances around, and you see just a little bit more maturity come forth. She's probably really in her late 30s. And she just looks at you. I am Weasel. And you are Lord Reese?
You can call me Arzu. That is quite all right with me. Now, Weasel, do you perhaps have any interest in farming?
No.
Interesting. What are your interests?
I like to read. I like to listen to soothing music. And I clean and I serve, as is my place. I am not of
Uh,
noble birth as such as yourself.
Well, as far as this conversation goes, the noble birth thing doesn't really matter much. I noticed that you did the smart thing and you led with the things that you enjoy doing and worked backwards instead of the other way around. Interesting. What do you like to read, Weasel?
Mainly stories of the past, history, poems, different takes, shall we say, on the history of Arrakis, the history of my home city here in Arakeen. I try to avoid the history of the houses that come and take the spice and leave. How Arrakis changes hands. I like thinking about us, not the people who lord over us, but I will serve them faithfully. And you, if you'd like.
Well, as the design goes, it won't really be me you'll have to be worried about. Not after these 4 days, but what do you care of the future, Weasel? The past seems to be something that enamors you, but what of the future? Does that catch your eye just as easily, or is that something you focus on less? He has placed his silverware down very politely on the plate in a manner that says, like, I'm not finished with this, but I am.
She kind of looks at you and just stares a little bit. And there's a handful of the other staff that are beginning to gravitate toward this conversation, just kind of listening, doing some small talk. Uh, currently, there's like kind of a loud bickering back and forth between Basama and Mara, just constantly complaining about the staff. But Weesal looks at you. Well, hopefully, the future is as bright as the sun, and this new family will not be as bad as the old ones.
I find it rather interesting that you say bright as the sun. You see, the reason I asked if you had any interest in farming is because it's very similar to what you're talking about. Now, with the past, you want to know what the soil was. Is this soil good enough to grow what you're looking for growing? Support what you're looking to support? But it's also about the future. You put efforts into your past so that you may have a bountiful future. No?
Of course, but begging the Lord's pardon, you didn't see many things to plant in the sand, did you?
Well,
You will farm the spice and you will send it off world for your spaceships to use. We will still
oh,
be here.
Weasley, you don't know much about the Reese line, do you?
I know nothing of your line.
Well, let me educate you. We are not spacefarers. We do not care so much for the spice. It's farming that we do, growing crops, livestock, supporting the people that want to come to Arrakis. So I say plainly and clearly, the spice, I could take it or leave it. Truly.
Oh, there's an
The
eyebrow
people.
raise when you say that.
Oh yeah.
She's just like, what?
Mm-hmm. It's the people that I care about because ultimately farming crops, good. Good for people, good for economics, good for society. But you also have to make sure that you are cultivating those people to be supported, not in a way of manipulation or any kind of misdeeds, mind, but if you treat people well, people tend to treat you well. And he just calmly just kind of cuts another slice of the very spicy beef and chews thoughtfully. So, to understand people's past, one would hope that you would do so to supplement the future. And that is mine.
Well, perhaps this new family that is coming will be beneficial to our future.
Perhaps.
Pardon me. She starts to get up and nods in your direction, nods in Mara's direction. And as she's taking her taking her personal objects and again wiping her mouth and folding her sleeves down, she says something in a language that you don't understand, and a number of the staff members just start to chuckle, and Mara snaps her a look. And Weasel's just kind of like, whoops, and kind of looks down and begins to walk off.
Mara.
And just same stoically turns to you.
Mm-hmm. You mind elaborating on what that was just now?
She was just being rude, sir. I put her in her place.
Oh, I'm rather used to it. Don't sweat me none.
She said, what use is there sending a farmer to a desert planet? And the rest of the staff are just kind of like, oh shit, she told him.
Oh, it's a good question. Don't you agree?
I'm sure your lords have their reason.
They certainly do. That was funny. I liked it. But as I said, I'm here to farm more than just crops. And it ain't necessarily spice. And he goes back to eating, kind of with a chuckle every once in a while, like as he thinks back to what Weasel just said about him.
I had a quick question about when she left. You said she had personal effects. What were they exactly?
Oh, just like a small notebook. There was a small notebook, some sort of writing utensil. Just just a small thing that she set aside.
He said a writing utensil and a notebook.
Yeah, it's like a
Copy
small
that.
pocketbook, like about size of a size of a small phone.
One other question.
Mhm.
You said that we would not, like, even if we studied other things, like cultures and such, we wouldn't know this language.
No,
Okay.
no, the Arakeen language and a lot of its dialects and Fremen slang that's thrown in there, it's difficult to learn,
Okay.
especially in the limited amount of time that you had.
Understood.
As that begins to happen, as Lyra takes Jamelia and Shala away, as Weasel starts to get up and leave and everything, it's just this with this very loud, almost just puff. Basima just plants her fists on the table and stands up and starts grabbing plates. She's like, "Don't worry, I'll do it," and just starts clearing a table and pulling in just this large amount of plates. And her eyes go wide, and there's a confused look, and then a slightly angry one as she walks in, and Novia, you are cleaning dishes and setting them aside. She has a pile of dishes in her hand, and she just like gives you this, "Who are you? What are you doing? Why are you in my kitchen?" look, in just like surprise, concern, anger.
Is the pile of dishes that Basira is carrying, is that more or less than all the dishes I've already washed and stacked and nicely have like put to the side?
Less,
Okay.
actually.
All right.
Because you've been going back and forth this whole time and just like, oh, that's empty. Oh, they're done eating on that side plate. Oh, they're done with this. Just you're picking and choosing over like 5-10 minutes. And yeah, she's just standing there in shock and then registering anger.
Does she say anything, or is it just angry face?
No, it's just like a look of, "Who the fuck are you? Wait, what's going on? Why are you in my kitchen?" Just this kind of a flash of three emotions quickly across her face. And she just kind of steps and places the dishes down on the side where the dirty ones are and kind of glances at you.
I think I don't. I think at first I meet her eyes and I have a wide smile, to try and disarm her, but then I think better of it and I avert my eyes and I grab the dirty dishes that she just put down and I say, "Oh, thank you, my lady. Let me take care of the rest of this for you."
Stunned silence as she just moves more of the dirty dishwares your way and then leaves, and you hear her picking up more from outside and then just almost snidely goes, "Of course, see, one of the new ones is in there and they're helping me, but none of you do." And immediately comes in, but no reaction to you, just puts the dishes down harshly, goes back out, grabs more, and just every time, just constantly just sniping every single time they're in the presence. And you hear, and everyone begins just getting up. Demira and Arzu, you see as people are beginning to finish up their meals and push their plates toward the center and get up to do to get back to work and such. And Mara is looking across the table to the two of you. It's like, "So, where should we talk?"
I'll leave that up to you.
"Please come with me, sir, if you don't mind as well."
Lead the way.
Lyra. Jamelia and Shala are with you, following very deferentially behind you, just like heads are kind of bowed. Their hands are, are held in front of them, just walking with you. And Shala kind of speaks up a little. It's like, ma'am, are we to be your housemaids and serving Lady Jessica?
If that's what you wish.
I thought it was the family's choice, ma'am.
Sure. They may seem to make their own choices, but always influenced by others.
Oh, okay. As you walk in, and you've seen the quarters before. You're staying just on an off section of the main bedroom. And again, it's clean. The linens could use some pressing. They haven't been slept in, and they're just a little stiff with how they've been folded. They can probably be softened a little, the pillows turned over. But it looks fairly clean. It looks fairly, it's up to task, especially with many of the Lady and Duke Leto's belongings coming in. It should be very, very nice. And both of them kind of look at you. And again, it's Shala just immediately stepping in front of Jamelia. So, what should we do? What, how would you like this prepared for the lady?
So first of all, I would like to move the tables and the bed and she basically describes like very mathematically how the bedroom is supposed to be. And the reason for this is that if there was ever any altercation, Lyra would know how many steps it was from the door to the bed and from the bed to a nightstand. Like she basically memorizes like the entire landscape of the bedroom. So she has the furniture moved in such a way that Lady Jessica may not notice it, but Lyra is completely ready just in case something were to ever happen.
Okay. And they listen to you very intently. And they begin shifting the bed, and the glow globe that settles above, naturally moves with the bed as it is, technologically tied to it. The tables are moved, and they're listening to you very intently. Shala more than anything. Jamelia seems very, very secondary because Shala is trying to step forward at any point. Because yeah, she talked with you the longest,
yeah,
and she feels there's more of a connection.
So I'm gonna address Jamelia. Why is it that you don't speak up as much?
It's not my place, ma'am.
What do you mean it's not your place? You're allowed to speak to others.
When situation calls for it, ma'am.
Situation calls for it.
I'm from the city, and working here is a great honor, and to serve the great houses, and with the Atreides, hoping they will be more peaceful than the others. And I hope they bring more life to us.
And if they do not?
It could not be worse than what is going on now.
So
and
you're all right.
Shala snorts with laughter at that as she's moving a table.
So you're all right with others deciding your fate for you.
It is my position.
What if I told you you could aspire for more?
In time, I could be head housemaid and possibly housekeeper.
Wouldn't you want more than just that?
It is not my station. I'm not the person that should be of high station.
Why is that?
I work very hard at what I do.
I can see.
Others working for me would feel wrong. Again, a small snort from Shala.
There are other occupations or a higher calling than just serving a family.
We do not have many opportunities in Arakeen or even on Arrakis.
I am presenting you with an opportunity should you wish to take my hand.
Because you've already seen the nervousness she has looking at Nava, the one that was kind of like watching everybody and is highly critical of everybody. And just for the few moments you've been studying her, she looks scared, not just nervous. She is scared.
Is there something you're not telling me?
I have bad choices in lovers.
Is
And
that all?
I don't like being taken advantage of.
What if I could teach you to take advantage of the situation yourself?
That would be useful.
Indeed. Well, this is going to be a bold move, but let's go. I take her hand and I put her hand to my stomach.
Still scared and is wondering what the hell is going on. And you hear the table and the things on it stop moving.
This is what it feels like when you take advantage of your own situation and make it your own. And hopefully something moves there.
With your conditioning, you can make your muscles contract and, and such. And she looks shocked. And like a small smile comes across her face. And she begins to kind of lean her head. I wish for the same. I just cannot seem to choose the right people.
I will help you.
Thank you.
Of course. Now please help Shala. And we will talk about our studies at another time.
Shala is looking at you incensed. You can immediately tell that she was digging your vibe as you were telling her and basically offering her the same thing. And now it's just, she's looking at you almost in betrayal and looking at Jamelia just scorn.
So I can feel that quite well without like having to like look behind me. And I go, Shala,
it's palpable.
have I told you the story of two sisters who entered the sisterhood together?
No, ma'am, you have not.
So Lyra launches into the story of two sisters who were displaced, very young children, were brought up by Reverend Mother Gaius, and how there was always a slight bit of rivalry, but in the end, they would die for each other.
Jamelia is enraptured by this story. Shala begins to look less put out, less perturbed. There's a little bit more, she's a little bit clearer eyed. Her countenance kind of changes. And she looks over at Jamelia and then looks at you and just slowly nods her head. And you see when she meets your eyes and then she looks down at your stomach and just a small smile comes across her face. And they begin to move the tables and listen to you and begin working in harmony. And both seem less nervous, especially in your presence, and less rivals, but more like we'll tolerate each other while we're working.
Mhm. I'm okay with toleration. That's fine.
Demira and Arzu, you follow Mara into just a series of small passages. They're moving back and forth, and they lead through the grand foyer, and then outside, you kind of took this circuitous route through the ballroom, through the grand foyer and back, and you're in one of the side hallways near what appeared to be the office when there was a small tour. And she just kind of like leans against the wall. Her hand is nowhere near her knife, but she does lean against the wall and cross her arms. And she looks at the two of you. What would you like to talk about?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to apologize for any misunderstandings that took place upon our first greetings of one another.
I believe you have learned your lesson. Apology accepted.
Now, are you aware as to what we were sent here to do? Specifically, me. By chance?
I can tell that you are not simply people coming to make sure everything is okay.
Well,
What your motives are or what you are looking for, I do not know.
well, we'll set aside your own personal opinions for a moment to get back to responsibilities. I was sent here to overlook and oversee the goings on here, as well as the staff. Now, seeing as we had a little interesting interaction previously, I don't want to step on your toes, as it were. But do you mind if I speak freely?
Please, by all means.
Arzu is very much letting Demira run this show. Like he's like the guy in the background with his arms folded up against the wall. Like,
yeah, man, you're not stopping her.
oh yeah, no, not at all. But I just wanted to make it clear that like Arzu's letting Demira run this show. He's not even like really looking at either of them.
Mara's not even paying attention to you.
Perfect. That's the way
she is looking straight at Demira.
That's the way I want it.
There is a certain countenance change where before her head was slightly bowed, her head raises, her shoulders where they were once hunched over slightly to kind of go unnoticed. It shifts, as does her overall presence before Mara, very authoritatively almost. I had a chance during breakfast to observe quietly the goings on here at the household, the staff.
Yes.
If there
as was
was
designed.
if there was a, let's say, a review of those who are actually above and who are my superior, do you know what they would give you?
If you're saying that I would be given some reward for doing my job, I think doing a good job has its own rewards. Why should I be picked higher than any others if we do good?
You speak of rewards. I am speaking the opposite. For if my superiors were to see the state of this household, oh, you have failed. You failed at your job, unfortunately. Your staff and those who work alongside you don't seem to respect you. They barely respect one another. It seems that there are those who don't care about their duties. They go about things as they see fit. This cannot be. We have a very limited time to have things ready. So therefore, and she whips out this from underneath. She has the book that basically has the breakdown. Like literally, like if it's almost kind of it's not the fanciest of materials as far as this kind of booklet that is being handed over. But it's a reasonable size. It seems like there's a lot to it. And it basically has all of the different information that she took note of from House Atreides, and also to the responsibilities and duties for everyone in the household, and kind of what I discussed before. So in order to help you succeed, I suggest that you look this through thoroughly and implement it into your everyday tasks.
And she just holds out her hand for the book, just very calmly.
She gives.
Kind of like looks at it, pages through a little. It will be done. I will naturally speak to the head housekeeper that these are the guidelines for which we must serve the Atreides. And we will begin to shift from our simple, no one has been living here for years, relaxed attitude into a more, shall we say, appropriate, as would be expected of, for the new noble family.
I'm glad we've come to an understanding. There's also another thing that is very concerning regarding some of your staff members, some that seem to undermine your authority, among others, and in front of others, nonetheless. This Talora, you say?
Talora believes she is more important than she is. She would like to think that she is my second, of which she is not.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
When Shadout Mapes is not here, I am in charge. I am the keeper of keys. I am the one that administers. When Shadout is here, I serve her. Talora is a housemaid. She will stay in line when needs have to be met.
Does she lead the others?
No.
By chance?
No. And the others do not listen to her. She does, however, not seem to like Umar. Probably because he is the newest and youngest. She is old and old in her ways.
Well, I would like to change that mindset. House Atreides believes in, how do you say, the promises of youth, the future, as it were. So, as of tomorrow, I would like Laura to be demoted and Weasel to take her place.
She looks at you in just stunned silence.
She will go through a rigorous training, retraining, as it were. And that individual who seemed even more relaxed, what was his name again?
Ah, Arvio. Yes.
He will be watched. If he does not perform his duties and if he seems to continue this attitude of his, he will be let go.
Again, there's just this smug, like, okay.
I do not mind if you would like me to go around and observe everyone, not just this individual, to make sure that everyone is clear on their new assigned duties and tasks, and making sure that everything is in tip-top shape. That way you can focus on what you need to focus on.
As is your right. Please, if you have any more recommendations, or if you see anything unsavory or untoward, what would be a, shall we say, a proper showing for the new family, please let me know, and I will work with you to resolve such matters.
Oh, I shall. Don't worry.
I will take Talora off of the work in the ballroom and the grand foyer, and I will give it to Wisal, as you ask.
Fantastic. Or Sir Arzu, I believe there were, was it the footmen that we needed to also to have a conversation with? And then basically Demira is addressing the fact that there was like certain individuals that he had pointed out, and you know, kind of hinting almost like as if they had some type of conversation that Mara was not aware of regarding how they did their duties.
And Arzu like snaps back into the conversation as if like he was like, I'm here, but that has nothing to do with me, so I'm not listening. And then as soon as Demir says his name, he's like, oh yes, I would love just to have a little talk.
Where can we find them at this hour?
Currently, well, Arvio is probably somewhere in the storeroom or laundry trying to do his job, but likely trying to get others to play cards. Shakir more than likely is upstairs in the servants' quarters. You can find Cora and Umar generally on the outside near the main entrance. And those are the only ones we have.
Thank you for your time.
Would you like me to assemble them into a single room for you all to speak to?
Sir?
No, I think I'll be finding them myself.
May I go back to my duties, please?
Of course.
She kind
Thank
of
you.
nods her head and immediately pulls out just a ring of keys, these old brass, and some of them are just worn copper, and goes immediately to the office door and unlocks it. In a moment, you just hear her shuffling around, and then she comes out without the book that you gave her and closes the door and relocks it. I will be giving out this information on our next staff meeting. Thank you. And she just kind of turns on her heel and walks toward the dining
room. Oh, once she's like out of, once he thinks she's out of earshot. Oh, Demira. Impressive.
Not as impressive as you, sir. Of course.
Stop. I mean, you looked a woman with what was that knife thing called? Doesn't matter. Thank you. I appreciate it. You looked her square in the eye after she held it to your throat and told her she was doing a bad job.
Well, I cannot tell a lie.
I know you. Well, I mean, I know you can if you wanted to, but.
Well, I wouldn't when it would cost us too much. This house is definitely not up to standards. And there's very interesting characters.
That is true, but I think they just don't really know how. The word I think that almost eludes me is strict the Atreides are, so I think it was for the best. Don't like it, but for the best.
Well, I did what needed to be done in order for us to not fail.
Oh, of course. That is not aimed at you, Demira. That is aimed at the Atreides.
Oh, of course.
So, if you have things you need to be doing, by all means, I think I'll go find in this. What was that young fella's name?
What's his name again?
The youngest one is Umar.
Not Umar, the one whose name starts with A.
Oh, the slacker? Oh,
yeah,
that's Arvio.
Thank you. I'll be go find an Arvio. No.
Yeah.
I only asked because I forgot.
No, I'm also too trying to remember everyone's name. I apologize.
I'll go be finding Arvio.
Did you want me to speak with this weasel? He seemed quite interested in that one.
I thought Weasel was interesting in a positive way. I don't take any offense by her slack. She doesn't understand, you know? She thinks that I'm some snooty just below the Atreides come here to, you know, kick sand in her face and tell her it's water. But
of course, why do you think that I had her replace Talara?
Bold move. I liked it. We'll see how much Weasel likes it. You know, I think I would like you to tell Weasel of their new assignment personally. Yes. You don't have to give me any credit. The idea was all yours.
As you wish.
As always, I appreciate you, Demira. I will see you shortly.
See you soon, sir.
Novier, as you're cleaning dishes, Basima seems to be getting more and more relaxed with your presence, to the point where she kind of nudges you aside and begins cleaning as well, and then would clean one and then hand you the next to rinse off and stack. And you begin this just simple movement of just working together seamlessly. And it's very quiet. She says nothing for the longest time. And then she just very quietly to herself, so this is what it means to be respected. He just keeps doing it.
I think he stops for a little bit because he's drying dishes alongside her, and he smiles and he says very quietly, with the food you provide, you should be You should be the lord. You should be the lady of this house, not the lady of this kitchen.
I could never be as high of standing. But, but I will tell you, when everyone is here, it's going to be very difficult. I'm so used to cooking for small people. Cooking for many is going to be a challenge. You know, you can always come help if you want.
I would love to. You're. I do have to say, your cooking was so exquisite. I'd much rather have. I'd much rather have the fullest of bellies than any sort of standing in this house. And I think what he's trying to do is he is trying to kind of like and I think I'm trying to trigger a roll on this one. I'm trying to persuade her to make sure that like anytime I'm in the kitchen, it's more of like a welcome sort of feeling instead of like what the heck is this guy doing here?
Sure. Let's see. She is kind of lazy. She just admitted to you that cooking for a skeleton staff is a lot easier than will be cooking for a duke and his family in an entire displaced great house.
Mm-hmm.
And she likes you, but you are an outworlder. I'll say, yeah, give me a communicate. It will be a difficulty. It's a little challenging. I'll give it a level 2. Because
Okay.
you may be helping right now, but she doesn't expect you to help later.
Okay. So with the communicate, my focus
Mhm.
is persuasion.
Of course it is.
Okay. And for the drive, I'm going to be using faith. You specifically said that it's very quiet between the both of us. So my
Yes.
faith is problems are only solved in the quiet.
Oh, crap. Yeah. Yep.
So
Yep.
that's going to be with faith.
Yeah.
2
Give me
dice, correct?
communicate faith, 2 dice with a focus.
Okay, and with a focus. Let's see how we did.
Well, I mean,
It's not bad.
it's not bad. It's not perfect. You know,
Yeah.
just you were looking for a 2, you got a 1. You know, you could, you know, if you'd like to have another D20, you can always raise the threat level. I'll give it to you.
Everybody's looking real worried about it, so it's making me want to do it. Yes, I 100% want to do that. Yes.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. So yeah, why don't you give me one more?
Same exact thing, right? So communicate
Yep.
with faith.
But you're
I'm
only
rolling
rolling
one
die.
dice with my focus.
Yes.
Yes.
Damn. All right. You were aiming for a difficulty 2 and you clipped a 3.
Okay.
Nicely done. At first, she's still cold, but as you continue to dry the plates and small talk begins, she starts to really warm up and decides, you know, and she just kind of smiles. Anytime you want to sneak in here and try some cooking, you are welcome.
Only if I can drop you off something from my stewardship. And I think like, he wants to make like a little bit of a like build like a bridge in a relationship with her as well. Is there something as a steward she would want? Like, I don't know if like the people are, say for example, like literate here or would appreciate stationery, like pens, like
Oh,
finer things like
probably.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Anything. I mean, they're city folk who are working in a residency for a noble family. Anything like that that could give them a little bit of feeling or well-being or even a little bit of pride. Oh, absolutely.
Cool. And I think after I compliment her food one more time, and I ask to bring a plate back to my quarters. Uh, I leave with a little bit of a smile, and I want it to be very clear to the audience that now I have access to all of our to where food gets prepared in this house.
Yep. And who's the assassin? On that
So
note, I'm man, first it was breaking of the vase. Now you're working in the food and you're trying to kill people. On that, I think we're going to take a break so I can mentally get myself prepared for what this cast is going to be doing. So yeah, hang in there. We'll be back in a little bit. Make sure you're well hydrated here on Arrakis. You know, get up, shake out, grab something to nibble on. And remember, we've got that Roll20 code coming in, and it's also be a perfect time to check out Modiphius and maybe buy some Dune stuff. So we will see you very shortly. Hope you all have your water, because, you know, it's always necessary on a desert planet. Now, oh wow, things have gotten real interesting. Lyra. The room is set. Duke Leto and Lady Jessica's room is how it should be. The steps are the same. Likely when the family arrives and both Thufir Hawat and Gurney Halleck come in as both of them responsible for security come in, they will undoubtedly appreciate your measures. As you were going through, again, they seem to be getting along much better, Jamelia and Shala, to the point where they start joking with each other just a little bit. But whenever something comes up about Jamelia and any kind of romance she's ever had, she just shuts up. She just still seems embarrassed and a little bit scared. Obviously, there's some sort of relationship trauma in her past, but it's a very sore subject for her. You do notice that Shala is trying to dig a little, you know, just like get a little bit more out, but it's not happening. But they do listen to your every word and every instruction. And they seem to both be very comfortable in your presence.
I am going to talk to each young person. Tell me, is there anything that I need to know in terms of staff who may or may not betray House Atreides?
Jamelia immediately looks just afraid and like looks around. It's like, are you suspecting one of us?
Oh, heavens no.
Shala looks a lot calmer. And she kind of looks at you with a little bit of seriousness. Ma'am, sometimes I think that Shakir isn't everything he seems to be. He seems to be very full of himself, very self important, like he knows more than others do. And he seems to take a pass at anything that has legs in this household.
I see.
He's very blunt in his propositions. Let's put it that way.
And that's cause for concern.
Well, if it's somebody that is looking for eyes and ears in places, certainly having affections for more than one or two or three, or trying to get in good with all of us. He seems cocky about it. I don't know if he seeks to betray, but he certainly is, to me, untrustworthy and uncouth.
DM, how can I do essentially perception check, but how can I perceive as to whether or not she's lying to me?
Well, a few ways. I would mainly say it's a communicate skill check.
Okay.
She seems to be rather forward, so I would only give it a difficulty of 1.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely say communicate.
My drive, I'm gonna say, is duty, because this is my duty, A, to House Atreides, but my responsibility to my sisterhood, which is my statement.
Oh yeah, especially because you're pitching the idea to these two and Shala first. Yeah, I'll allow it. Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, give me a communicate duty, please. You're only looking for a single success, and you got 2. Perfect. She is being straight up,
okay.
like very forthcoming and very honest. Doesn't seem like she's cornered about info. This is freely being given. And there is a tone in her voice that he probably tried something with her at some point, and she did not like it. This isn't a setup for failure. It's more of a she does not like him and does not trust him.
So I asked Jamila about, what was his name again?
Chakir, the one
Yeah,
that, yeah.
Jamila, what do you make of Chakir here?
He's attractive. He's not my type, but he is full of himself. He thinks he is better than he is. And someone acting that brash usually has things to hide. The louder someone is, the more they're trying to hide what they whisper.
I knew a few of those.
Perhaps he is. I have not had much contact with him. Apparently he does not like me as much as others do.
I would also like to see if she's lying to me or not.
Sure, go for it. Same. Yeah, let's do communicate duty. Again, a 1. She's very comfortable with you. Still got it. Yeah. She's being very straightforward. There seems to be a little bit of, I wouldn't really say jealousy, but kind of a, oh well, he never asked me to do anything. But
Okay.
definitely it's definitely coming across as, since she's quiet and she's pleasant but shy and nervous, that very brash individuals seem to put her on edge. And
All right, you
both of them are being very direct with you.
perfect. If you two don't mind finishing up here, I have some work elsewhere that needs my attention, and once you're done, you can return back to your quarters, and let me see about a possible move so that you can be closer to me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And they both bow very reverentially to you, and kind of like begin, shifting another table so it's a little bit closer to the door and easier to reach, just in case, and various things like that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be on my way to a couple of different things. To meet with Mara to talk about the 2 young ladies. Demira, if I run into Demira, and then finally probably out to the marketplace to go make contact with Reverend Mother Gaius and
Okay.
a couple of other things.
Okay. Speaking of which, Demira, you went off separate from Arzu in order to do some poking around and checking with other people. Where are you heading first?
I actually realized that I didn't check to see where Weasel was, so I probably am going to be looking actually for Mara again. Trying to basically get that information among other things that I want to try to also to get my hands on.
Okay. As you leave the office, she did step out toward the dining room. And as you leave, you do catch her kind of looking into the kitchen, just very briefly, and you hear like the clattering of dishes, things being washed, and what sounds like humming, kind of like this tuneless song. And she looks over her shoulder and kind of looks at you. Yes, sister, how may I help you?
Oh, I realized I forgot a few things. One of them, do you have records of every single staff person on duty currently?
I do. I have written records of all of them.
If you don't mind, if we could get a copy of that as well.
If you'd like to accompany me to the office, I can get that to you right now.
Certainly.
And immediately she comes right toward you, walks right past you, and that same ring of keys comes out. You do notice now that you're closer, it is tied and looped with a piece of cloth to one of the many wraps and cloth belts that she has. And she finds that same worn brass key and unlocks it and opens it. And it's probably one of the more disheveled rooms because there are books and papers and everything. It's like they haven't really gotten to it yet, but there's what seems to be a large pile, like primary papers and books on the large, heavy wooden and stone desk in the middle of the room, including the book on Atreides etiquette that she placed there. And she immediately goes into that pile of papers and moves a couple aside and pulls out a very, very thin, just this thin kind of leather folio and hands it to you.
Does it have the current schedule for these individuals as well?
It does. It is their names and their primary schedules and responsibilities.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anything else, ma'am?
No, during this time, as far as the interaction, Demir is taking a close also too, like as I am assuming that Mara's probably like reaching down to try to find those things. What the walls, do I see anything that would stand out in particular? Like, mainly in this time, is it possible to note any other points of entry other than the door that was with the key?
There is no other point of entry. This is an isolated room. There is the only way past this room is down the hallway, either towards the grand foyer or towards the dining room. It seems to be very secure. Like most of the other rooms, there are no exterior windows.
Okay.
And there is like a glow globe in each corner, so it's well illuminated when the door opens. And there are, rough hewn wooden and smooth stone bookcases recessed into the walls. Some of them have like old tomes in there of some sort of something.
Okay.
There's a very large desk, doesn't seem to have any drawers. And the only thing that really stands out is that same sandworm motif is along the top, just in the corners.
Copy that. That is all. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And she kind of motions toward the door.
Upon leaving, if I could take a look quickly and focus my my attention on the particular lock of this door,
Sure.
just to see what type of lock it is.
Okay.
For reasons.
For reasons and things and such. As you you have hyper awareness, do you not?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll hand it to you. It is a fairly what seems to be a complex lock. The key is very specific. The key is triangular in shape.
Okay.
So there are at least 3 separate locking mechanisms. No, really, I can talk. That it has to engage. And
Mhm.
then it is turned a total of 3 times until it unlocks. It seems rather complicated.
And that's also to in order to lock in addition to unlocking it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right, understood. So in that quick motion, as far as just like kind of like Demira goes back to her usual posture, kind of like leaning a little bit forward, a little hunched over, but also to kind of as she's going leaving, remembering her unlocking, and then also to like if there's an unlock or locking situation that happens with Mara, paying attention to that before heading off and in the other direction.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Super simple. And it's interesting, you do notice that Mara's body language has changed a little.
Mhm.
As you walked up to her, she seemed to be standing taller and shoulders a little bit more broad and leaning forward, like you were in that conversation. Just there's definitely a push-pull going on between.
Mhm. Excellent.
Arzu.
Demir,
Oh, go ahead. I'm
by the
sorry.
way, Demira will look also to, this is a side note in the book, to look at basically the schedule for Weasel and where Weasel would be, and then closes it.
Oh, okay. Weasel should be in the either, since breakfast went a little long, should either be in the linen and laundry area or in the female dormitories, making sure that just like the general open ones that are unoccupied are clean, and then going back and forth between those two, changing sheets, etc. Now, Arzu,
Mhm.
you were heading off to talk to or at least find out and talk to the 4 footmen.
Mhm.
So
Correct.
Umar and Cora would be outside, either outside or within the main entrance, making sure it's secure, making sure things are in the right place. Shakir is likely uh trying to roam around, probably more likely upstairs in the male dormitories, the upstairs servant quarters, or perhaps doing his work toward the ballroom. And Arvio, he's probably off playing cards somewhere.
Looking for RVO.
Okay. Uh, so you're starting off the hallway near the office. Is there anywhere particular you want to try? Like upper floor, ground floor, lower level, basement, even?
I want to start lower level because I feel like somebody who's playing cards on the job is probably going somewhere low where less scrutiny is, perhaps.
Oh, okay. So as you're going down, you do find there is a stairwell that does lead down into the into the basement part of the residency. And it is an open stairwell, and the basement, as you begin to look at the construction around you, it's getting a lot smoother. This is obviously, you know, this is for storage, a serious amount of storage. As you're heading down there, you start to, it's weird, it's cold, because you realize it's underground, it's well insulated from any of the surface temperatures, and it's just there's that slight disassociation that you're on a desert planet and the room you're getting into is rather chilly. As you go down, you do hear the riffling of cards. Just kind of like off in the off in the corner. And as you get down there, you see, just as you come around a corner, you see just sitting there kicking back RVO, but also with him is Rozzy. She was kind of sullen, kind of like standoffish and surly at breakfast. She was one of the younger ones, probably one of the most recent. So she's just sitting there, kind of sitting back. There seems to be like a small bottle of something in two very, very short glasses. And they're just relaxing back. And he's riffling through cards, and there's just some small idle chat happening. How quiet are you trying to be?
I'm extremely quiet. They will not hear
Okay.
me until I want them to, is the hope.
Okay. This is gonna be fun. Let's see here. No, they're too involved with themselves, and you're used to walking around quietly. Yeah, no, I'm not even gonna give them a chance.
All right, fair enough.
It seems that they're RVO is pressuring is pressuring Rozzy. It's like he's kind of looking at her. It's like, come on. Tell me, you're seeing someone and you're seeing them in the house. Who is it? It's like, no, I'm not going to say. You can torture me, and I'm still not going to say it. I know you're upset, but I'm sorry. They got to me first. And he just kind of like leans back. He's like, oh, okay. So it's Cora, isn't it? It's the big guy. You like him big. And she just kicks at the table that the bottle's in, and the bottle wavers, and RVO kind of very quickly just like grabs it out, some of the cards falling out of his hand. He's careful with that. There's only a few bottles of these, and they'll know if one is missing, and if it breaks, it's going to be very difficult to replace.
I'd wager it'd be real difficult to replace.
Oh fuck. Okay. Yeah, no, yeah, no, I'm gonna have to do something with this one. Let's see. It will be move. It will be duty. It will be that, but it's gonna be real fucking difficult. That would be a nope. As you say that and you step around the corner. Oh man. So Rozzy immediately stands up. Her face goes red and she just tries to really rein it in. Arvio, on the other hand, drops the cards, dumps the bottle over, and it rolls off the small table and shatters. And he's halfway reaching out of the chair and bracing himself. And it's that almost, it's like the scene in the film would be zooming in on him, in that I just got caught with my hand in the cookie jar. And if I move and try and hide it, I'm dead. He's just completely still, and then just slowly reaches back and stands up and looks very ashamed.
So how long has this arrangement been happening?
Well, And Arvio's kind of like looking at you. Rossi's staying fucking quiet.
Mhm.
Well, we're not the ones that are seeing each other. That's what you're asking.
Oh no, I heard all of that. I was talking about the two of you coming down here when I imagine you're supposed to be doing something else.
Well, sometimes I just want to get away. And sometimes I just don't want to. Haven't you ever been the kind of person that doesn't want to do work?
son, House Reese is a house of farmers. You are barking up the wrong spot. But I understand. What do you want to do, Arvio? You really want to just be here playing cards, or do you want to do something else?
I'm not bad at playing cards. If you're ever looking for a hand, I know some really great places in the city.
I bet you do. And you, Ravi, what do you want to be doing other than rebuffing Mr. Arvio's advances? Or trying not to lose your cool down here after what just happened?
Sir, I know who you are. I'm not from Arrakis. I know who you are, and I know how much it means for the Atreides to be coming. I just want to I just want to do my job. I'm not even from a nascent house. I'm from a small moon off of another planet. I came here with someone and he went off into the spice and never came back to me. So I looked for a job. And I'm stuck here with people like this.
All right, then, Ravi, I'm going to ask you one more time. What is it that you want to be doing?
Something more than cleaning?
I respect that. You good with your hands?
Some people would say so. And she just smiles.
You fast?
When I need to be.
Tell you what, Ravi. I got 4 days before the Atreides get here, but they haven't really given me an assignment past that. And you want something I can provide. You want to be done cleaning, done rebuffing Arvio's advances. You want something for yourself? I can give you
So,
that.
moving from serving one house to another, you mean?
Well, now listen, I understand what it sounds like at face value. I'm offering you is to go from serving House Atreides to serving House Reese, but it's not exactly what I'm offering. I'm offering for you to not be a servant, but a part of House Reese. You want to work your way up? Best offers you got is mine. And he has a smirk on his face. You say you know what we do. You know, we run a lot of the agriculture production in the local cluster. So you want to work your way up. I'm offering you to be a part of that.
Could we speak later when there are less nosy people around and just kind of like Leans her head toward Arvio.
Absolutely. But if you don't mind, and he like gestures towards Arvio. Arvio, do you consider yourself fast? Clearly not fast enough to catch the bottle, but
No, honestly, I'm a bit slow on the uptake in some things.
well, how about I offer you this then? Because I'm feeling a little bit like I want to do something, and I think you could provide. So I'm gonna sit here, and he walks over to the shattered, like basically where the bottle shattered, and he kind of like gets down, he squats down and like kind of just studies the pattern in which it is shattered and is like looking at it. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to go up and beat me to Mara. You can beat me to Mara. I'll tell her I came down here to see what was going on, knocked over the bottle myself. I beat you to Mara. Well, I think you can understand.
He looks at you and looks at Razi and makes a bolt for the staircase. Just at a dead run.
Arzu does like kind of looks up at Razi. 3, 2.
He's moving. He's going for those
1.
stairs.
We'll talk later. And Arzu goes for the stairs as well. He is like he's full schmoving.
Oh man. Cool. Give me. All right, this is going to be this is going to be a throwdown here.
Yep.
It's definitely a move check. Let me see here. He has a very decent move. So let's give it a difficulty 2. And see who gets closer to the win here.
Ooh.
Would you like to add any threat?
I am actually going to use nimble. So I'm going to reduce the difficulty of this to 0 for me.
Okay.
I'm just going to go ahead and throw nimble in there for you.
That's fascinating. Because he is also nimble.
I was hoping he was lying.
This is a pre-gen stat block that happens to have nimble on it.
I was hoping he was lying.
Wow. So yeah, you're moving over each other. I'll say this. Do you have any, because the focus he will use does not fit what's going on. Do you have one that does?
So I've kind of gone back and forth over whether I would use duty or justice on this. Duty is people are the strength of a great house. I don't know if that one fits as well.
I mean,
it could, but I feel like justice, because I gave him the deal of like, if he can make it tomorrow first, I'll take ownership of the bottle, which is I must speak for those whose lives I command. Which I don't necessarily command him, but I will speak for him if he beats me. Kind of.
I can see both of those. I can see both of those working. Do you have a focus under move? Is that one of your higher
acrobatics?
Stats? Oh shit! Yeah, he does not have a usable focus for that because it's both at a difficulty 0. However, you have an active focus in move that would work. I'm going to give it to you by a hair. Even though he knows, like, this is a fight. This is a run. Like, he tries to cut you off, but because you are so nimble, because you have training in acrobatics, you have training in dueling, you have different movements that you have that House Reese knows to get into and out of fights and situations. He goes to trip you and you're just stepping over it. You're staying 2, 3 paces ahead of him the entire time. And you remember that Mara was heading toward the dining room as she left the office where you were talking.
Mm-hmm.
So you cut up and you cut through where the office was.
I just get like the feeling it's like a film where like he thinks he's in the lead because I just cut like the right. He's like, "Ah, that idiot ran the wrong way."
No, absolutely, absolutely. It's one of it's one of those like slightly shaky cam moments of like following behind him. You're in the lead. It's going, and then you peel off to the left toward the office, and a smile hits his face as he runs straight ahead toward the ballroom. You come around the corner to Mara stepping toward the dining room, having just left the office with Demira.
Mm-hmm.
So you are ahead. Demira, you see Arzu just turn the corner at a not a brisk run. This is at a I'm going somewhere. And Mara immediately pivots and her hand goes to her side. And then you hear footsteps behind as Arzu stops in front of the two of you. And then you see Arvio come through the dining room and immediately stop and just hang his head. Just crestfallen. He had the straight line. You cut left. He's like, oh, either in the kitchen or the dining room. I've got this. I'm going to hook into the dining room. If not there, I'm still ahead. Nope. He got, nope. The moment he comes into that hallway, it's like that shot. So it's behind your head as you stop and you're catching your breath. Demira looking at you, Mara with her hand suddenly at her side, wondering what's going on. And then there's that zoom in of him coming around the corner, stopping and just going, fuck.
Mara, apologies for the run up there, but I believe Arvio has something he would love to share with you. And Arzu's gonna move like towards Arvio's side, and he's gonna say, "If you want to get out of whatever it is about to happen to you, you're gonna know where to find me later." And he kind of nods and steps back behind Arvio, but still in earshot, so he can make sure that Arvio stays with his end of the deal.
Mara just begins to approach him, and there is a look of doom on her face. Absolute, just anger. Lyra, the Arakeen market is busy. It's hot. Thankfully, your robes of your station in the sisterhood are thin enough and breathing enough that you don't have to go from shade to shade. But finding a messenger system in order to send a message to a shuttle, fairly simple. Just a number of blocks away from the spaceport. And since it is a guild messenger service, they are very secure, and the message will not be decoded, and it will be sent full to its intended destination as the Spacing Guild does. And it's very simple and to send a message, and it will be hand carried by courier to a guild highliner, which will then be sent via Holtzman transfer. What message are you sending to Reverend Mother Gaius?
All is well on Arrakis. Have 2 new recruits, hoping for more.
Okay. Simply, and he takes the encoded message and hands it off to a courier with just like who places it in a bag with all of the others. And the courier, they exchange words real quick, like next one's in 40 minutes. Yeah, no, should be fine. Your recipient should be having it within an hour.
Perfect, thank you.
And he immediately moves off, and the guild communicator just kind of glances like, is there anything else you need?
I do actually. DM, just to clarify, my contact, what is their would I know their location?
Yes, you would know their location. You would know that it is a contact in a smuggling operation here on Arrakis, and you would easily know who you could send a message to in the city in order to contact them.
So
you know the
I'm
Friends
going
of Friends network here.
So I'm gonna start heading in the direction for that message. Is that in the same area as here?
Yes. Yeah. And you begin to go through, and you remember what your contact said, that you're supposed to look for a specific design on a window on one of these, like, it's kind of frosted in, and in the corner there's just this simple, it looks like just a simple delta, a simple triangle with 2 lines coming out, and you recognize that, and it's a local messenger service. It's not by any means as nice as the guild messenger store was or anything. It's shoddy, it's dusty, it's a little bit hot. There's a character behind the table, and he just kind of looks up. His feet are on a desk and kind of picking at his teeth. Has a very thin hood on, and he looks up. He's like, "Can I help you?"
I need to send a message.
Sure. Who to?
I think you know who.
And he looks at you, and he purposely kind of looks past you up toward the window and kind of nods and looks back at
I need this sent quickly and discreetly.
you. Oh, we can do that. It's going to cost you a few Solaris.
I don't think you understand me. Quickly and discreetly, you will do my bidding. I'm going to use the voice.
Oh, shit. Do it. Do it. This is, he's a contact, but he's an intermediary contact. I'm just gonna give it a difficulty 1. This is he's kind of a shitbag that does not, he does his stuff to do it.
Oh, I don't have the write-up on here. My bad.
Oh, it's okay. I know it.
Oh, good.
So that will be a communicate.
Mhm.
If I'm assuming that you're going to be actually what drive are you going to use with this?
I'm going to say justice.
Okay.
As my statement has suggested, justice is served to those who seek too much power. And I'm sending a message because I think I have a plan that
Okay.
utilizes somebody who is seeking power.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it. The voice gives you, actually using the voice gives you automatically 1 success. So yeah, this is only a difficulty 1, so it's effectively a difficulty 0. You hit him with that. And again, you see that overpowering mental energy hit him, and he just slackens every time. There is this that immediate control over a being, and you sense it. And he just immediately sits up. And he goes, "Yes, ma'am. Who is this to?"
She doesn't immediately, she doesn't say it out loud. She like leans over and whispers to him who the name is.
Got it.
Message, I have a plan. Meet me. Hurry.
He immediately encodes it and just very loudly whistles. And a kid runs in and he hands it to the child, reaches into a box and pulls out 5 Solaris, 5 coins, and hands it to the child and looks at him and says, "Now and safe." The kid just takes off running. And I think that's a proper place to end for this afternoon with 4 days remaining. So we'll see you next week here at Modiphius for Dune Desertfall episode. Reminder: use that command, the what's it called? The exclamation roll20 for a chance to win the roll20 roll20 plugin for Dune Adventures in the Imperium. And if you want to run a campaign and you're looking for a good one, Dune Fall of the Imperium is available now. And if you get the hard copy, you immediately get a PDF for free before the hard copy is even shipped to you. So, I am really kind of scared on where my players want to take this. And I hope you will join us next week. And yeah, you know what? Let's raid somebody. Let's send everybody over to Perception Studio, our buddies with the puppets. They're a heck of a lot of fun. And oh hey, Sundance Kid 007. Nicely done with that giveaway. Make sure to use it on Roll20 and have your own awesome campaign with Dune. So yeah, take it easy. We're gonna head to Perception Studio now, and we'll see you next week, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central for Dune Desertfall episode 4.